Germany, 2.5 million barrels. Germany consumes around 2.5 million barrels of oil daily, making it the 10th largest consumer globally. As Europe's largest economy, Germany has a strong industrial sector, with automotive, machinery, and chemical industries driving much of its energy needs. Germany's transportation sector also contributes significantly, with extensive road networks and high car ownership. Germany is transitioning to renewable energy, but oil remains essential for certain sectors, especially in transportation and chemicals. Brazil, 2.9 million barrels. Brazil, with a daily oil consumption of 2.9 million barrels, ranks 9th globally. Brazil's transportation sector is the main contributor to its oil consumption, particularly with its extensive road networks and reliance on road freight. As Latin America's largest economy, Brazil has a substantial industrial sector that depends on oil. Although Brazil is a leading producer of ethanol, a renewable fuel, oil remains a major energy source, especially for freight and aviation. Republic of Korea, 3.1 million barrels. South Korea consumes around 3.1 million barrels of oil per day, ranking 8th. Despite its small size, South Korea has a large industrial base and a high population density, factors that drive significant oil demand. The country is a global leader in shipbuilding, automotive, and electronics manufacturing, all of which require substantial energy inputs. As an import-dependent country, South Korea sources almost all of its oil from abroad, making energy security a priority. The country is investing in renewable energy, but oil continues to be essential, particularly for transportation and heavy industries. Canada, 3.3 million barrels. Canada consumes about 3.3 million barrels of oil each day, ranking 7th globally. As one of the largest countries by land area, Canada's transportation needs are high, especially in sectors like freight and trucking. Additionally, Canada's cold climate increases the demand for heating, particularly in remote areas. Canada is also a major oil producer, and domestic consumption is relatively high due to energy-intensive industries, including mining and resource extraction. The oil sands industry in Alberta requires large amounts of energy, which drives oil use within the country. The country is working on expanding renewable energy sources, but oil remains a primary resource, especially in transportation and heavy industry. Russian Federation, 3.6 million barrels. Russia, consuming 3.6 million barrels of oil per day, ranks 6th worldwide. As a major oil producer, Russia relies on this resource both for domestic consumption and as a key export. Domestically, oil is heavily used in the industrial sector, which includes machinery, mining, and manufacturing. The vast size of Russia and its cold climate also contribute to oil use, as fuel is essential for heating and long-distance transportation across the country. Despite its wealth of natural resources, Russia has been slow to diversify away from fossil fuels, relying on oil to support economic activity. Oil exports are a significant revenue source for Russia, and domestic consumption is closely tied to its industrial activities, which contribute significantly to its GDP. Saudi Arabia, 4.5 million barrels. Saudi Arabia consumes around 4.5 million barrels of oil daily, putting it 5th in global consumption rankings. As one of the world's largest oil producers and exporters, Saudi Arabia has easy access to oil, making it a primary energy source for both industrial and domestic use within the country. The country's oil consumption is driven by its energy-intensive industries, which include petrochemical manufacturing and large-scale construction. In addition, Saudi Arabia's desert climate necessitates significant air conditioning, adding to energy needs and oil consumption. Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 plan aims to diversify the economy and reduce its dependence on oil exports, which may eventually lead to shifts in its domestic oil consumption. However, for now, oil remains crucial for powering its industries and maintaining the comfort of its population in a harsh climate. India, 5.2 million barrels. India ranks 4th in the world for oil consumption, using approximately 5.2 million barrels per day. India's demand for oil is growing rapidly due to its expanding economy, rising population, and increasing urbanization. The country's transportation sector is a major contributor to this demand, with growing car ownership and a reliance on trucks for goods transportation. India's industrial sector also plays a role, particularly in sectors like chemicals, fertilizers, and textiles, which require substantial energy. Although India is advancing in renewable energy initiatives, its industrial and transportation sectors still heavily depend on oil. India's population size and economic growth also mean rising energy demands across all sectors. With a rapidly expanding middle class, consumer demand is increasing, which drives production and, consequently, energy needs. Japan, 5.6 million barrels. Japan consumes around 5.6 million barrels of oil per day, making it the third largest oil consumer globally. This high consumption level is particularly notable given Japan's relatively small population compared to larger oil-consuming nations. Japan's high-tech and industrial sectors are major drivers of its oil demand, as the country is home to significant manufacturing, particularly in the automotive and electronics industries. Japan relies heavily on imports for its energy needs due to limited domestic resources. This dependency became even more pronounced after the Fukushima nuclear disaster in 2011, which led to a reduction in nuclear energy use and increased reliance on oil and natural gas to meet energy demands. The country's commitment to advanced technology and manufacturing requires consistent energy inputs, particularly for industries like robotics and high-tech equipment production. Although Japan is gradually shifting toward renewable energy and investing in alternative fuels, oil remains vital for its economy. China, 16 million barrels. China ranks as the world's second-largest oil consumer, with a daily consumption of 16 million barrels. This demand is largely driven by China's rapidly growing economy and massive population. China is a manufacturing powerhouse, producing a vast array of goods for both domestic consumption and export worldwide, which requires substantial energy inputs. The rapid urbanization in China has also led to increased demand for transportation, both public and private. With millions of people moving into cities, the number of vehicles on the road has surged, contributing to rising oil demand. Although China is investing heavily in renewable energy and electric vehicles, oil remains essential for sectors like shipping and aviation, which are harder to electrify. China's Belt and Road Initiative, which aims to boost infrastructure and trade links across Asia, Europe, and Africa, has further driven its need for oil, as infrastructure projects often require extensive use of machinery and energy resources. China is also seeking to secure its oil supplies globally, investing in oil-rich countries and securing long-term supply agreements to support its energy-intensive growth. United States of America, 21 million barrels. At the top of the list is the United States, consuming a staggering 21 million barrels of oil per day. This high figure reflects the country's large population, extensive transportation infrastructure, and reliance on both private and commercial vehicles. The U.S. also has a robust industrial sector that heavily depends on oil, from the manufacturing of goods to energy-intensive industries like petrochemicals and plastics. One of the primary factors behind the U.S.'s high oil demand is its widespread use of vehicles, with a car ownership rate among the highest in the world. The average American household often has multiple cars, and due to the country's vast size and sprawling cities, driving is essential for many people. Additionally, the United States has a significant amount of freight transported by trucks and planes, all of which rely heavily on oil. While renewable energy is gaining ground, oil continues to dominate in areas such as air travel, shipping, and heavy industry. The U.S. is also a major producer of oil, though its consumption levels still exceed its production, making it both a leading consumer and a key player in global oil markets.